We can open the waiting room. I think we're good. Are we unmuted at the desk? Okay. And okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome back, most of you, to Concordia University's fourth space. Thanks for joining us for continuing in this series of events under the title Concordia's Global Learning Day, which is really a closer look at the international learning opportunities at Concordia. To help situate you, we're streaming to YouTube live from fourth space, and we're located here on unceded Indigenous lands in Tiohtià:ke, Montreal. For Space, we work with our university community to mobilize knowledge, co-create daily activities that examine research questions, looking closely at the projects that are happening here. We're running this as a live stream Zoom meeting, so we welcome comments and questions there. And for those of you in the space, we'll pass a mic around for a question period also. And with that, it's my pleasure to hand it over to Aphrodite Salas, professor in journalism, to begin today's discussion. Aphrodite, to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, and welcome everybody. It's such a pleasure to be here to talk about such an exciting topic, global experiential learning experiences that you can participate in not only through Concordia, but also through Concordia and all around the world. So we'll see as well around the room here in fourth space, there's examples of student work and things that students have been doing in some of our field schools. So we'll definitely have a chance, hopefully everybody will have a chance to walk around and see these things and have a chat with everybody here. For this particular part of the day, we've got 4 professors that are joining us, joining me here at the table, as well as Luke from CEED Concordia, who's going to be talking about exciting opportunities for students in Uganda. And the way the conversation will work is for the first 30 minutes or so, we'll hear from each one of the profs at the table about the field schools that they run, the reason they decided to run them. As well, we'll bring Luke into the conversation to talk a little bit more about what people can do overseas in Africa through Concordia. And with that, I'll start by saying, Professor Boucher, could you please introduce yourself and talk a little bit about the opportunity that you offer for students through your department?
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Raymond Marius Boucher. I teach in the Department of Theater, the specialization in scenography. And I have been taking a class, a field school class, to the Prague Quadrennial this summer. So the Prague Quadrennial of Performance Design and Space, where this summer there were 59 countries participating and a lot of schools. So like the way this exhibition works, right now it's called a festival. There's a representation of professionals from around the world and schools from around the world also. So this time around and it's always like happening in different places, a different location in Prague. And for the student exhibit for this edition, it was happening outside. So that was quite exciting to see all of the exhibitions from the different countries. For this particular edition, because you don't have to know, but I'm just mentioning that I started taking classes Prague in 2003.
Oh, wow.
So it's kind of 20 years now, every 4 years. And this time around, I was one of the co-creator for the Canada and Quebec exhibition. And the theme or the title of the exhibition was Eau Trouble, Troubled Waters. So, and we have been consulting the students from across Canada. For this edition, there were 14 different schools from all over Canada participating. and we needed to have a team that would solder everybody. And we asked we consulted with the student. It was a very long process, like over 2 years, and like the importance of the water came as a theme. So we got students involved in it, like asking questions about what does water represent to you. There was like the general theme in Prague that was rare, so like we wanted to embed our team into it. And I had like 17 students participating to all aspect of the exhibition that we did, and you can see in the corner of the room here, like the iceberg that was created by some of our Concordia students, and students were asked also to do suspensions and characters.
Oh wow!
According to the theme itself. So.
I wanted to ask 17 students, and when did you leave and when did you return, or when did the program? How long did the program run for?
So it was in June. So the exhibition was from the 8th through the 18th of June, okay. But students came earlier and left just after on the 19th or the 20th of June.
So the requirement was about 2 weeks on site.
Yeah, it's a good. Yeah.
Right, and that's so great.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand. So you've taken students every 4 years to Prague, but is the field school every summer or every 4 years?
Every 4 years.
Every 4 years.
Yeah.
Amazing. So then for students, basically, it would be in 3 more years that they would be able to apply again.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome.
The quadrennial itself like started as an exhibition in 1967, and it was only for designers, so set costume designer for the theater and sound and so on. So there was a lot of 3D models and a lot of photos of realizations. But right now it's way more a festival, like it's very performative. And we have had like students that are in the house right now, like doing a performance because we needed to react to a poem that was written in so that it would be interpreted by students. So we did amazing, and we were very nicely represented in Prague. Yep.
Thank you for that, Professor Boucher. It sounds like an amazing experience. We'll pass the mic to Professor Del Farra.
Okay, thank you.
If we go from Prague to
Colombia. Colombia and Mexico. In fact, 2 field schools during the summer, and it has been happening for several years. This year, we went to Colombia. In fact, some years we have been in Manizales, it's 500,000 more or less. And this year, and the past one, we were in Bogota. As I'm usually saying, I'm taking my students only to very safe places because we were in Bogota. And then in Morelia. Morelia is the capital of Michoacán, hot state in Mexico. Everything goes very well, always. I mean, it's a fantastic opportunity to see really cultural differences, amazing people. I mean, we went 19 to Colombia this year and 17 to Mexico. It takes a lot of preparation, but usually once we are there, everything runs smoothly. They need to work incredibly hard, but there is a lot of fun and they enjoy doing the activities, but they need to work a lot because it's a very short time. And at the end of the field school, in the case of Colombia, for example, they were closing, in fact, this year, a really big international festival of electronic arts. So the closure event was the people from the field school presenting, and most of them, they didn't know each other 1 week or 10 days before. So they needed to develop cooperation, collaboration. The WhatsApp group, as someone was mentioning before, is one of the first things we developed. And here, that's very rare. But there is a must. You need to have that. And the same in Mexico, while in Bogota, the activities are more like electronic arts, but we receive classes, for example, from a chemical engineer, from architects, from designers, not only from artists. different from Mexico. In Mexico, we go to the Mexican Center of Music and Sound Art. It is much more focused on music, but it is not only about music, because there are also things about audiovisuals, about electronic arts in general, and they also present, at the end of the week, they need to present a public concert, and sometimes they participate of the Sonic Vision International Festival.
Oh, wow.
So it is very demanding, but it's a lot of fun at the same time.
Absolutely.
At the beginning of the week, when they realize what they are going to do, usually, yes, because until they are not there, they don't know. So usually when I'm presenting what we are going to do during the week, someone is asking, when are we going to do all this? And then I'm answering always during the night. I cannot say that here, but I can say that in Bogota or Mexico. And they are concerned, but at the end of the week, everyone is presenting and everything is well done.
Amazing. So so the length of the field schools are 1 week each? Or approximately?
Between 8 days and 10 days maximum.
Between 10 days each.
Yes, it is impossible to go for, everyone is saying, oh, it would be great to make it longer, but it's really, really hard. I mean,
right. Well, there's so many moving parts,
yes,
right?
there are many things happening. Yes.
And this is through the Department of Music?
Yes, basically.
Which is your
the
department?
People participating are coming, most of the students are from Concordia. We always take a few students from UCAM, for example, but they are not only from music, they are all coming from different departments from fine art. Also, they work together, undergraduate, master students, PhD students. It's a big mix. So this is usually not happening. Right. So it's a big opportunity, very rare opportunity. So it works quite well. And yes, the students are, in some cases, in the second case for Mexico, there are more students coming from the music department, but as I said, not everyone is coming. So another challenge is to see how you fit in the whole thing and how you will participate in the public settings. Right. So it is very challenging, but it works.
But rewarding.
Yes.
And that's in the month of June?
It's depending of the year, because I need to accommodate a little bit according to the festivals.
Yes.
Especially in, for example, the next one in Colombia is going to be happening at mid-May. Okay. So I need to accommodate the field school with the dates of the festival.
And it's every year.
Yes.
Pretty much.
As far as my energies can.
Yes, yes. That I understand
because
too.
It takes 1 year to make it work in 1 week.
Right.
Yeah.
100%. Thank you. Amazing. Next, Professor Swanson. What department and where are you going to bring us?
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Linda Swanson, and I teach in the ceramics program in the Department of Studio Arts. And I'm taking us to Denmark. And in Denmark, we took students to a residency center called the Guyegård. You learned how to say it by the end of the field school, International Ceramic Research Center. And it is an artist residency site where international artists go to work on ceramic projects. We bring students from the BFA level and the MFA level to the program. It's maybe one of the smaller field schools because the residency center itself can accommodate 9 students, myself and a technician. We have 2 of us going on staff because we're firing kilns all night long, just like in Mexico. So the specialty of this residency center in Denmark and why we would go all the way there to do this are a few things. First of all, it's a wood-fired experience, a wood firing experience, which means we're actually feeding the kilns wood, and the flame is coming out of the kiln looking something like that. And you have to continually feed the kiln for about a period of about 30 hours. So we're working in teams and shifts all throughout the night to keep the kiln climbing to reach temperature. There's a lot of teamwork involved, a lot of communal activities to chop the wood, to load the kiln, to fire the kiln, to unload the kiln, and to clean up the kilns. And this residency lasts 3 weeks, which is not a very long time for a ceramic process, but we managed to get work created and get the kilns fired. That usually is about a 5-day process from loading to the cooling of the kiln. I have 2 publications that we produced as a result of these field schools in previous years. One of them is really focused on the firing aspect, and the other is really focused on the food aspect. Because in addition to working in the studios together, we're also cooking together and living together in a farmhouse that's been converted into the residence. The stables of the former farm are converted into state-of-the-art studios. And there's the opportunity for students to really become exposed to a different way of working, a different approach to art and design through the Danish traditions, and different materials, because ceramic materials are naturally occurring, and in different places of the world we have access to different types of materials that create different clays and different glazes. And so there's a whole learning curve and a very experimental approach to discovering these things on site there. So I started this field school precisely because I didn't go to an artist residency for a long time when I started working in art. And the moment that I did, I saw the value of the experience of artists working in the studio together, learning from each other, questioning each other's approaches, perspectives, and the benefit that this very intensive time where you don't have the interference of your daily life, because you roll out of bed and 1 minute later you're in the studio just across the lawn. You don't have the distractions of daily life, and you can have an intensive focus on your work that really doesn't even occur when you're a student. So all of the obligations of daily life are really set aside for this very precious period of time, and I think that's really valuable. I think through the field school, students can really envision their future as an artist, because at the residency center, we're seeing artists of various levels of their careers. Some of them are student assistants who have just finished their BFA, or they're just entering MFA programs, or they've been working in ceramics for 40 years. And all of those different types of experience make for really rich dialogue around the medium. And again, it is a really fast and furious program like many of the others, but there's so much energy around the new experiences and the new possibilities that it really doesn't feel like work.
That's the key. I think that's the key. I'm hearing this, everybody's saying, oh, it's a lot of work, but it's amazing. This is what I'm hearing from each prof so far. When, just one more question, when is your field school, and do you do it every year? When in the year?
We've been fortunate to do this every 2 years and hoping to do it again next year. And it usually happens in May. So not too long after the semester ends, you have a few weeks to kind of get prepared and packed, and then we're off for the beginning of the summer, which is a really beautiful season, just spring starting in Denmark. And yeah, amazing. Beautiful time.
Wonderful. Thank you, Professor Swanson. Next, we'll pass the mic to Professor Sussman.
Hi. So I'll tell you a little bit about the field school that we've been doing with the Bread and Puppet Theater, which is in Vermont in the United States, about 2.5 hours to the southeast of here. So we go by bus. Bread and Puppet Theater, for those who don't know, was founded 60 years ago this year as a puppet theater, but a theater that really deals very much with contemporary social issues. The director, Peter Schumann, calls it a yelling and screaming theater against the things that need to be yelled and screamed against in any given moment. When I came to Concordia, I had a long-term relationship with the company, and we started doing summer intensive classes. We didn't call them field schools yet, but in 2008, and we pretty much have been doing them every other year. This year was exceptional, 2023, that we did 2 years in a row. I kind of think of that as a way to make up for the years we couldn't go during the pandemic. Bread and Puppet was founded in New York City, but it moved to a rural place in Northeast Kingdom of Vermont to a working farm. So it's theater making very much in relationship to the weather, to the landscape, and to the materials that come from the land. So students work on a new production directed by Mr. Schumann, the director. They're asked to invent elements of that show. So they're working with paintings, masks, puppets, found objects in the collection on the farm to create little skits, little elements, but then those are shaped into something that relates to whatever, Peter, who's a sculptor, painter, visual artist, and choreographer, is interested in working on. Because we're so close to Montreal, we've been fortunate that in almost all of these field schools, the final performance is able to be done first in Vermont and then back here in Montreal. So the last 2 years we've performed shows at Entrepôt 77 up in Mile End, near the railroad tracks. And that's a very exciting way to end the 2-week field school. In most of the time, it's been the last week of May, the first week of June, which allows the field school to culminate with an annual event at the Bread and Puppet Farm, which is their museum opening. So it's kind of the launch of the summer season. The performances that happen outdoors on the farm begin that weekend, and it's a kind of symbolic opening of the Bread and Puppet Museum, which is in a giant barn formerly for farm animals, converted since now many decades into the Museum of Giant Puppets and Elements that have been created since the 1960s. So yeah, it's a very exciting project. What I love about it, 2 things I'll just say to wrap up. I feel that the field school exposes students to a different economy of making theater, a different way of using materials that cost next to nothing. It's working a lot with sustainable materials, recycled materials, materials that are found around. It also allows students to, just see a very, very different way of working. So it's exciting. Yeah.
And how many students?
We've had 18 the last 2 years. Also, last year, a mix of grad and undergrad. Yeah.
And do they apply?
Yeah, there's a letter. In the past, I've asked students to write a letter of intent, usually in January, February, and we make decisions by March, and then students enroll. Yeah.
Just before I ask Luke to talk about the CEED, the opportunities in Uganda, I do want to ask each of the profs here, just really quick, what was it in you that made you want to create a field school? Because it is a considerable amount of work, extra responsibility. It's a very different way of teaching. It's an amazing opportunity for the students, but what really drove each of you to create this?
Maybe I'm holding them, maybe we can go the other way around.
Yeah, let's go the other way around.
The second thing I was going to say, which relates to your question that I forgot for a moment. The last few years that we've taken students to Vermont, former Concordia students, alums, who have been part of the field schools, have since returned to join the Bread and Puppet Company, touring the world with them year-round, and then become the teachers or the mentors of the field school group. That's been true for several years now. And that's one answer to your question, is that there's this kind of accumulation, I would say, of Concordia students who have become part of the fabric of the company since, in this 15 years that we've been doing this. And that's extremely gratifying to me to watch, former students teaching current students. Teaching is maybe not the right word, but leading and mentoring current students. So that's extremely exciting. I think that's
amazing.
That's one answer.
Absolutely, yes, great. What about you, Professor Swanson?
I think initially I thought that this artist residency center, Guyugor, would be a place where students could do different processes than we do here at Concordia. That was maybe some initial impulse to do this. But I think now that the field schools have happened and I understand really how valuable the experience is, why it's valuable is because my students can envision their future as an artist much more distinctly outside of the classrooms here and in a professional artistic setting. And so students maybe don't necessarily understand, or it's just abstract what an artist residency is, or if they could possibly be accepted into one. And this residency center is a very competitive place for artists to work. Some of the artists we met there had applied 3 times before they were accepted, and yet I'm able to take a group automatically to have this experience since we're a learning group, since we're students and teachers. The residency has as part of their mandate this aspect of education built in. And so we're able to kind of slip in the side door to this residency center, and you get a preview of what it's like as an artist in a professional setting like this. And it's an invaluable type of experience that elicits a kind of confidence as an artist that somehow feels simulated in school, but is actual in the residency center. So it's not simulated in school, you're actually working that way, but it may feel like a separate environment. And this was really pivotal for a lot of students to immediately go and apply for another residency and then get accepted and have that stepping stone out of school just be a little bit clearer or seem more possible. And it's really the envisioning, I think, that was really key.
Wonderful. Thank you. Professor Del Farra.
Yes. I think that basically is the impact I perceive in the students that sometimes, because I have been doing it also for a number of years, so you see the impact is not seen or perceived in the moment. You can see it 3-4 years after. When the students are seeing at the moment it's okay, they are enjoying it, they accomplish results, but then you see how this was impacting maybe in your CVs, in your bios, but in general in making different kind of work, as you were saying. I mean, you need to cooperate, you need to develop strategies to solve problems in 5 days. So the impact is not necessarily only the immediate thing. What you can see is in the long term. I have students that were in the field school 3 times. That's a lot. Okay, so one of the students went to Manizales in Colombia, then he went to Mexico in Morelia, and then he was the past year, he's now a master's student, and he went back to Colombia to be in Bogota. So if someone is coming 3 times in a row, I mean, the same professor, the same model, the same structure, is because he understood that this is bringing a huge impact. The contacts you are doing at the time inside the group, it looks like everything flows freely, that things happen almost by chance. Nothing is by chance. I mean, a little bit of things are happening by chance, but we work a year to make it work smoothly in a few days or a few weeks. So when you see the impact that you have years after, even someone who is now like in the technical part of fourth space, he was doing, believe me, this was an online field school during the pandemic.
Wow.
We did online 6 hours in a row every single day, something that was don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. Every single day we were 6 hours on Zoom, Sunday to Sunday. And you can ask him, he's around. It was a fantastic result. Of course, you cannot have a teacher talking for 6 hours in a row on Zoom every day. But you need to develop strategies. I needed to develop new strategies for the pandemic, like many of us. So that was really like fantastic, and you see really the impact. Just one more thing is like, for example, group of people that started to work together for a field school that was like 5-6 years ago. They made a trio, for example, just because they wanted to put together a project to go and participate in the field school. they're still working together. So
Amazing.
it works.
Fantastic. Professor Boucher.
Well, as a professional scenographer, I've been participating to the Quadrennial since 1999 as an exhibitor, like presenting my own work. And then when I started teaching here at Concordia, like I said, like, okay, like we need to have that field school. Probably because like we get to see so many artists doing the same kind of work, but so differently at the same time. And going from country, like this year, like there was 59 countries. So, and seeing like what are the preoccupation of each artist from different lands is invaluable. And of course, like I'm saying, well, the network, you want to mingle, you want to see people that are doing the same work and compare and say like, okay, like I need to address this, I need to address that. So there's a lot of questions that are risen from occasions like this, field schools like this. And also like the organization of the Quadrennial itself is amazing because there's a lot of talks and a lot of workshops that students are encouraged to participate, and they are also asked to think about a question of research and develop a paper, you know, and presenting it to the entire class, what are their discoveries and so on. So I think it's valuable for this, and like since I've been doing it for a long time, like there are students that are from all over coming back to Prague every time. So we mingle, and I'm saying to my current student, okay, like talk to that student in New York, to talk to this student going to Paris and and China. So it's and then like at Tisch in New York City, like we have a student doing her graduate degree there that for the first time she pushed to organize a group to go to Prague. So yeah,
it's like the ripple effect.
Great. Exactly.
Yes, so wonderful. I love all of these stories. Luke, I want to bring you in as well about CEED Concordia offering some amazing opportunities for students in Uganda. Can you also just introduce yourself, please, and address what opportunities are available in Uganda?
Thank you very much. Once again, from the beautiful submissions that are made by the panelists. My name is first and foremost Ofungi Luke. I lead CEED Concordia in Uganda as the deputy director. CEED Concordia started 16, 17 years ago under the leadership of two students from Concordia University. And this was Peter Shefki, who is a member of Commons, and he leads or chairs a sitting on infrastructure in Canada, and as well as Awelo Wihanganye, who is also a leader, is in own right in Uganda here. So the main goal back then was in 2006, especially in Gulu, northern Uganda, where our campus sits or where our office sits. That was a period of transition in time from war to peace. And during that time, the two students just wanted to give a volunteering opportunity to students from Concordia. How best Concordia students come to Uganda and then help in rebuilding the community in different aspects, such as children's centers, back then, TASO, which is an organization that looks after people with HIV and AIDS, school infrastructure, and very many other modalities. Fast forward in 2016, we had to re-envision and change it into a professional internship program where we have students from Concordia University, all departments, and as well students all over Uganda. Now, these are Ugandan universities. So our main goal each year during summer is to have a group of 10 students from Uganda, all over Ugandan universities, but also equivalent to 10 students from Concordia in all disciplines. And this is during the summer, where we send out an internship call and they get to apply. And for Canada specifically, where they get to do an onboarding, but also take classes for credits. Then they are later subjected into 4 main core projects, which one is the environmental sustainability project, which aims definitely at addressing climate crisis. The second project that we offer is technology education, where students here get to address the digital divide gap within the community in Gulu, but also schools around us. The third project is media and advocacy. Under this project, we shine a light on socioeconomic stories of change that are happening in Gulu. And this project basically shares a light using platform of media. Back then it used to be radio. Now we integrate it into media, where we later have a screening event of documentaries that we shoot here. We have had one that has aired in the Concordia Bulletin with the first female border rider. Border borders are the motorcycles you see around that are used for social economic transformation of each individual. And the last project that we give out is the Youth Entrepreneurship Project that is aimed at training businesses within the community, group businesses, and where we later subject them to a grant and we enable their startup capitals thrive. So all these students, both from Uganda and Concordia, are integrated into their programs of choice based on their areas of study, where later they get to execute this project by themselves. All management does is give them an oversight role, but they get to budget, create work plans, budget for the programming and execute. Management's role is to guide them, allow them make mistakes, but ultimately also learn from them. So those are the main core opportunities that Concordia offers to students from Concordia. But what is interesting from the panel earlier, we also had a group of students from Denmark that came to Gulu and benchmark the Youth Entrepreneurship Project. These are elementary school students that normally come to Gulu, and as well through our integrations, we allow them learn from the businesses that are trained each year by the Concordia students and the Ugandan students that we have each year here in Gulu. So that is in a snapshot what we offer to a pool of Concordia students over time for the period of 17 years now.
That's fantastic. And can you just give us a sense of how long the Concordia students might come for any given opportunity? It sounds like a longer program than the field schools, for example. So what would like a typical experience for a student would be the whole summer, part of the summer?
Yeah. So the internship program is the entire summer, which is for us 3 months from June to August. So basically the applications come in during the 4th quarter, where CEED Concordia sends out a call for applications for students to apply to be part of the summer program or internship. And the ultimate goal is to learn, work and have fun. So for the entire 3 months period, definitely there is an onboarding that is done in Canada, then later on an onboarding that is done in Uganda, where we have district officials, people from the community that come in to deliberate relevant context in regards to these projects. What I didn't mention earlier is that we also give a chance to student projects that have happened or that are currently happening at Concordia, individual student projects. I'll give an example. In the past, we have had phonics. So these individual student projects should rhyme with the context and areas of need, especially with the host community. So phonics back then was addressing issues of education within the early stages of development of children. Then also we had 2 individuals, Peter and Jen, who came in to execute a project on urban planning, for the summer as well, which also was relevant in developing and shaping their careers later on after graduation of Concordia.
Amazing. These are, I actually am so excited to be here and to hear about all of these opportunities. I I think I heard some things here and there, but I had no idea the breadth of, and I'm sure there's so many more. Just respecting time, we do have a short amount of time for a few questions. We'll keep the answers really quick, but we'll start with Doug from Fourth Space. I believe, Doug, you have a question. That's what it is.
Does anyone have any questions? No?
Oh, you don't have a question? Does anybody else have a question? Yes, absolutely.
So all of the field schools that we've heard about today sound like they're for fine arts students. I'm curious, how open are they really to the entire fine arts faculty, or do you kind of cater more specifically to a certain major within fine arts? I'm just curious because I want to know what I can apply to next summer.
And I can say the puppet school has had students from all the well, not all, but any department in fine arts and beyond. We had someone from journalism. Really, it's meant to be open. We've always had studio art students come along. We've had creative arts therapy students, film studies, etc. Art education, mostly theater, but it's really open. Yeah, and again, the style of performing and the methods at Bread and Puppet presume no theatrical training, really, or background. It doesn't hurt to have it, but it's the way they operate is often with working with large communities, with people who are coming to performing based on the skills they just have in their lives, not necessarily from arts training. So, yeah.
I've got a quick response to that too, because maybe I have a very specific field school around ceramics. And while we've had a lot of applicants from studio arts, we've had applicants from outside in general in fine arts as well. One of the things we require in our application is a letter of intention. And it's really the thoughtfulness around that letter and how they experience might contribute to you as and your education, as well as taking advantage of the situation of the field school. And that's part of our consideration in the application. So I think each school has a different application process. Some require, like ours also requires a portfolio of creative work, but we also look at that through a creative lens. So it isn't necessary that you have some particular experience in order to come.
Yes, I don't have anything to add.
Okay. Yes.
We have some students from studio art and intermedia, and they were amazing. And they found out about what scenography is.
Okay. Thanks. In my case, we receive, most of the students are coming from different departments of fine arts, not only from music. And also we had several times like students from communication, from journalism, and this year we have the same person came to both field schools, and he's doing software engineering. Amazing. So part of the idea is that, and I think that most of the students are really valuing that a lot, because it's the experience of having opportunities to meet people from other universities in Colombia, in Mexico, etc., but also because one or two students maybe are coming from UCAM, or maybe some students are coming from, like in this case, software engineering. At the beginning you think, okay, how is this working? Right. But I can tell you that it works very well, because part of the idea is that this must be, we talk a lot about multidisciplinarity, transdisciplinarity, etc. We need to make it work. So I call it like a kind of real life transdisciplinarity that sometimes is just like an utopia. But we try to make it work, really.
Actually, I'd like to add to that as well. So this past summer, I took some students from the journalism department on a pilot field school to Greece. And I've been lecturing at a summer school organized by Aristotle University in Thessaloniki for the past 4 summers. And then this summer, they proposed, why don't you see if you can bring a few students. So generally speaking, the group of students is about 40 in Greece from around the world. And this was the first time I brought 2 Concordia students and a master's student that had just graduated that I had finished supervising. But it was really very transdisciplinary, I guess, because there were not only journalists, but early career journalists, PhD students, MA students, senior undergrad students, but also, media literacy experts, AI experts, journalism experts. So it was a really interesting experience. And in that particular case, I think there was a working assumption that people did have some journalism training, but at the same time, there was a lot of room for kind of within the spectrum of what people could contribute. But I think on that note, I also would like to say, I think Professor Swanson brought up a very good point, is that each field school is very different. And depending on what is being learned or where you're going under the auspices, I think it just depends on the experience, right? But on that note, like I said, we're going to respect the time. I know that we'll have some time to chat as well, right as soon as we wrap. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you to our panelists, Luke joining from Uganda. Thank you. And have a fantastic rest of the afternoon. Thank you.
Okay, thank you everyone for coming in to Force Space for this conversation, and don't forget to stick around in a very few minutes. We're starting up in the final part, which is a closer look at research and collaboration, and it'll be great to have you here for that. Okay, see you soon.